onto Tustin into a parking lot, maybe going to make a U-turn here, maybe they'll box him in or try another pit maneuver. That might be onto the sidewalk, through some trees, and now you can see what this person is capable of. He's going to use any real estate that he has at his disposal to get away from these officers. A dangerous suspect. We can now clearly see.
Продолжаем серию лихих 20-х в США. 5 несгибаемых гангста решили побегать от полиции на угнанном автомобиле. 2 из них решили сразу, что тюремная жизнь не для них, и выбежали из автомобиля в надежде получить снисхождение присяжных. Остальные отправились наматывать себе сроки.
Through the downtown area and now heading back towards the 10 freeway, southbound Alvarado from Hoover Street, heading back underneath the 10 freeway here past Westlake Avenue. Northbound Alvarado into oncoming lanes of traffic, a dark colored vehicle, apparently a stolen car, blowing right through these intersections at a high rate of speed. A number of officers on his tail doing about 60 miles per hour through.
Если он еще раз повернет направо, просто вернется на то же место. Не захотел.
From that circle he was doing in the Pico Union area, now making his way onto 11th from Olympic and continuing through these residential neighborhoods here. At least the driver still in the car. We saw 2 people jump out of the vehicle.
Полиция тут как тут, и отпускать его никуда не собирается.
This part of town, making their way back onto Olympic Boulevard, back towards downtown LA. Eastbound Olympic. LAPD with their night sun on him, trying to keep up here with at least 3 or 4 units right on his tail, trying to keep up at 60 miles per hour as we make our way closer to downtown LA. We are just to the west of the 110 freeway, making a right turn southbound, back onto Blaine. Another right-hand turn here. LAPD trying to establish a perimeter as they try and flood the zone with as many units as possible here in the Rampart District. Again, this all started in the Southwest Division, just south of downtown LA, was making his way through the business district and into neighborhoods surrounding the 10 and the 110 freeway, now making his way back again southbound towards the 10 freeway coming up on Pico Boulevard. Right turn on Pico, making his way now southbound off of Pico onto Valencia Street. LAPD doing a great job trying to stay on his tail. Let's go ahead and count those units behind him. We've got that primary unit, a secondary unit, and backup. 2 backup units as they continue this pursuit southbound on Valencia, coming back out onto Venice Boulevard. A right turn now onto Venice Boulevard. That's going to be westbound Venice Boulevard. Off of Venice Boulevard, now onto southbound Union Avenue. A lot of erratic turns here, doing his level best to try.
У него определенно есть какой-то план. Точно есть. Я уверен. Или нету.
A unit possibly set up for a spike strip there, and he went the other way, making a left turn onto Burlington Avenue, a left turn onto Burlington.
По информации полиции, за рулем находится пребывающий в розыске преступник. Он очень опасен и может быть вооружен, поэтому патрульные действуют предельно аккуратно.
Northbound Hoover. trying to make out the make and model of that car, but obviously a dark color vehicle, maybe a Civic, a Honda Civic perhaps, with heavily tinted windows. Again, continuing these circles here in the Pico Union area, back onto Pico Boulevard, northbound Alvarado.
В подобной ситуации у преступника нет ни единого шанса на то, чтобы скрыться. Его загоняют более 10 экипажей полиции, плюс ко всему к погоне подключили полицейский вертолет, оборудованный инфракрасной камерой. Поэтому даже если преступники решат бросить угнанный автомобиль и убежать пешком, найти их не составит никакого труда.
In pursuit here, lots of cops on his tail as he continues these erratic moves over the double yellow lines into oncoming lanes of traffic to get around anybody in his way, weaving through the Rampart district here, now making another wild right turn there onto James Wood Boulevard. Slowing down, another turn, a random turn off to the left there. And look at all of the units behind him making those turns with him as they try and flood this part of downtown LA. Again, we're west of the 10 freeway, the 110 rather, north of the 10, and now on to 8th Street. Once again, the driver of this vehicle leading police on a wild police chase through downtown LA. It's been going on for the better part of the last 25 minutes as he continues to weave his way through downtown LA, trying every trick in the book to try and lose those officers, but no less than a half a dozen to a dozen units right on his tail with that LAPD airship right overhead. You can see the night sun trying to shine a light there, warning drivers ahead of him of the danger coming their way as he continues at a high rate of speed, possibly onto the freeway here. Under the 110 freeway, under the 110, he'll come out the other side. That's 8th. And he's going to weave around this traffic here, not getting on the freeway. That'll put him in just past Francisco there as he makes his way now into the downtown LA area with all of the skyscrapers that are so often used to hide in downtown for these pursuit suspects. Very tricky for the helicopters to keep up with them here. It's going to fall on those units down on the ground to keep a close distance and a close eye and prevent him from getting away here. Lots of parking garages, lots of hiding spots here, plenty of apartment buildings. It's just so easy to hide out in downtown LA. Now onto Hope Street at a high rate of speed. Downtown LA relatively empty this time of the night. Still though, lots of pedestrians walking their dogs and out and about for a Wednesday evening walk. And you can see he's now continuing on Hope Street here. All of those units still right behind him. Southbound Hope slowing down a little bit. Back onto Pico Boulevard. Right around LA Live as he makes his way past Figueroa. Continuing westbound past Figueroa, past the convention center. Westbound Pico at 70 miles per hour coming up on the freeway. He's going to go, I think, once again underneath the 110 freeway. There's the overpass. As he comes out the other side, a little bit of traffic here. He's going to get around that by going into the oncoming lanes of traffic once again. Another wild left-hand turn here. All of those units still right behind him as he makes his way onto Valencia Street. Since we've been over this pursuit, at least 2 suspects have jumped out of the vehicle. We believe that at least one of those suspects is in custody, and presumably LAPD is in the process of gaining more intel on this driver and trying to get some more information on what they are working with here, who they are dealing with. They can't go off of the vehicle license plate because it appears to be a stolen vehicle, and so they have limited knowledge about the driver, but once again, you can see he is posing a real danger to all of these other motorists as he speeds down Venice Boulevard at upwards of 50 miles per hour. A spike strip, it missed. A failed spike at Venice and Bonnie Bray, continuing westbound Venice Boulevard. Thank you. A northbound turn onto Cortlandt Avenue, another suspect jumping out, running for it. They're going to take him into custody in short order here, and the driver is continuing once again. So now 3 people have jumped out of this vehicle, and the driver continuing the pursuit. Again, this is a stolen vehicle, and we're told by sources that there is also a felony warrant for the driver of this car. So it's more than just Grand Theft Auto. There are additional charges that this suspect is wanted for, and there's a reason there are so many officers dedicated to this pursuit. We're going to see what those other wants are, but there are additional felony wants for the driver of this vehicle as they continue this pursuit of a stolen vehicle in downtown LA, 50 miles per hour up Alvarado Street. Another wide turn there onto Olympic. And, almost losing control, fishtailing at Westlake Avenue off of Olympic Boulevard. Starting to lose control a little bit as he makes these turns way too fast, very little braking way too late. And here he comes again as he makes his way up Westlake Avenue, much narrower streets here, as all of those PD units continue to close in on him. About 10 units, approximately 10 units that are on his behind here, and they are just not letting up whatsoever. They really are dedicated to this pursuit. Look at that. Check out all of those units that are in pursuit here. You got to wonder what else this driver is wanted for. Making a left-hand turn there onto 12th Street, and once again heading back towards downtown LA. Westbound 12th at 50 miles per hour, back towards the 110 freeway. LAPD right on his tail there with that airship right overhead, trying to keep that night sun on him. There's the overpass once again. We're covering a lot of the same real estate that we have just in the last few minutes. Another wild left turn there as he continues to push the limits of this Honda Civic. Again, right near the crypto arena here as he makes his way past LA Live, just past Chickern here, paralleling the 110 freeway. And here is Olympic Boulevard. A right turn on Olympic. And if you're watching us live on abc7.com and our ABC7 streaming apps, get ready to switch over to ABC7 on your TV set as we get ready for our 11 o'clock broadcast. Eyewitness News at 11 o'clock starting in just a second. I have no ICOM. I got nothing. Nothing. No ICOM. You hear it? I don't hear it. I have nothing. I hear nothing. I heard that. I heard that. Top of your screen, night sun, top of your screen right there. That's right, Jory. The suspect, who's been on the run for the better part of the last half hour, dumping several of his friends, passengers in the vehicle, jumping out of the vehicle. Some wild turns here through downtown LA as he tries at all cost to lose about a dozen officers who are so far managing to keep up with him at high rates of speed through surface streets. It started on the freeway in LAPD's Southwest Division, and now we are in LA, downtown LA, where this pursuit is continuing with some really wild and erratic moves at times, almost losing control of the vehicle. Jory, we believe this is a stolen vehicle, but there is much more to the story. In fact, sources tell us that there are additional felony warrants for the driver of this car, this person believed to be armed and dangerous. We don't know what those other charges are, but they have tried several times to spike the vehicle. They have set up perimeters, but so far he has really done a good job at evading those officers, but they have done an equally impressive job of keeping up with him. They have not let him go. They are applying a lot of pressure upwards of, as I mentioned, 10 to 12 officers right on his tail there, in addition to that LAPD airship who is keeping that night sun on him as he makes his way down. I think we're on 8th Street once again. We're covering a lot of the same streets over and over again between downtown LA and some of the residential neighborhoods near the Pico Union area. That's allowed them to set up for those spike strips. But again, so far, most of those spike attempts appear to have failed as he turns onto Parkview Street here in the downtown LA area. Yep. Yeah, you can't help but presume that this is probably an area that he's very familiar with, if not resides in. Too early to tell. Again, 3 suspects jumping out of the vehicle in this neighborhood, and we believe at least 1 or 2 of them have been taken into custody, and hopefully LAPD is in the process of trying to gain more intel. Look at all of these units, not only the units behind him, but at some of these intersections, there are units that have been able to set up for him and even attempt several spike strips, but so far we have not seen any successful spikes just yet. At one point, he did fishtail quite a bit as he makes some of these turns way too fast back into oncoming lanes of traffic up Alvarado Street, a street we have been on at least 3 or 4 times already, as he continues to do circles just to the east of downtown LA, occasionally making his way under the 110 freeway into the taller buildings in downtown where it's much easier to hide out, but inevitably he continues to kind of go back and forth between these residential neighborhoods and downtown, now near MacArthur Park, as you mentioned, continuing southbound on Alvarado Street past Westlake Avenue here in the Pico Union area, an area that he appears to be somewhat, or at least I would say pretty much familiar with. Might have caught that, yeah, might have caught that front right wheel. Yeah, at times upwards of 60 to 70 miles per hour on surface streets. I think we just caught a glimpse through that driver, that windshield. Appears to be, if I'm not mistaken, another passenger in the front seat of that vehicle. So at least 2 individuals still inside that car. It's a compact car. We believe it might be a Honda Civic. And as we've already mentioned, at least 3 other people have jumped out of this car. But from our vantage point, it does look like the driver is not alone in there. There appears to be somebody else in that passenger seat. And again, we have to wonder what those other charges are, because as we widen out occasionally, you'll be able to see upwards of 10 to 12 officers in this pursuit. This is not normal, especially for the Los Angeles Police Department to work a pursuit like this with this size of a pursuit package, especially through streets, through downtown LA. It's just not something we are typically used to seeing here. there's a lot more to the story, to say the least. In any event, he's back on Olympic Boulevard, another boulevard that we have been on numerous times as he continues to circle this neighborhood. Wouldn't be surprised if there are more spike strips ahead of him as he continues now eastbound on Olympic Boulevard, Jory. Another wild turn. Another wild turn. He took that one a little fast, and you might see signs of this vehicle behaving a little bit differently now, going the wrong way again, or actually just turning into that left lane there. He could have. He seems to be avoiding the freeway. He's had many opportunities to get on the freeway, and he seems to be intentionally avoiding it. If anything has changed since that spike strip, I would say maybe he's traveling a little bit slower. Now going the wrong way on 12th Street. That might be a one-way street. Back underneath the Harbor Freeway there, underneath the 110 freeway. We'll see if he comes out the other side. You can see that night sun waiting for him. There he is, coming out the other side. That's going to be the east side of the 110 freeway, where there are so many spots to hide out. As you mentioned, Jory, there are lots of tall buildings, plenty of parking garages, apartment complexes, and you can tell that vehicle is definitely slowing down. You can see it a little bit wobbly. We'll see if we can get a better shot of it. Left tire smoking. You see a little bit of smoke emanating from that left rear tire. It looks like that left rear is now completely flat. It takes time, for those spike strips to take effect. It essentially injects a straw-like peg into the tire that slowly releases the air, and I think that's what we're seeing here, is that left tire starts to come apart there as he's now underneath the freeway, really slowing down, and we'll see there he is coming out still, pushing the gas pedal, trying to get away from those officers, but that vehicle is, look at that, there's more flat tires. In fact, both of those tires on the right side are flat, and the vehicle obviously starting to struggle here as he struggles to maintain control of the vehicle, wobbling back and forth as he tries to control that steering wheel. It's not cooperating, and I think it's fair to say, Jory, this vehicle now on borrowed time as they are now setting up at various intersections along Pico Boulevard, getting ready for the termination of this pursuit. Yeah, another turn here, struggling to make those turns. I think it's just a matter of time before he either decides to jump out of the vehicle or hopefully give himself up here. You can still see occasionally some smoke coming from those rear tires. At least 3 of the 4 tires from our vantage point are almost completely flat. And as you mentioned, he is really going back and forth there. Swimming is a great way to put it as he makes his way again back northbound on Alvarado Street, really doing circles over and over and over on these same exact streets. Not a lot of surprises with this guy. That's allowed them to really execute those spike strips, and he's slowing down ever more slowly here as he continues past Pico up on 11th Street there on Alvarado at about 20 miles per hour. They've done a great job at trying to keep other traffic at bay, but it's a testament to how much resources have been dedicated to this pursuit on the part of the LAPD. They have dedicated a copious number of officers and resources to try and get this person off the road, believed to be armed and dangerous. The vehicle itself said to be stolen, but there are additional felony warrants for the driver of that car, and they have not let up on him at all. All of those units continuing to close in on him from behind as he continues this pursuit now back on Olympic Boulevard. If you recognize these streets, trust your instincts, because we have been here numerous times in the last several minutes, and if you've been following us on abc7.com for the better part of the last half hour, he is continuing to do circles around these same buildings here just to the west of downtown LA. Between MacArthur Park and downtown LA is where he feels most comfortable, now making his way back towards the 110 freeway on Olympic Boulevard. That's right. It does, and we've seen a lot of experienced pursuit drivers try that very tactic of intentionally making their way into the downtown area where there are so many hiding spots. It's become a well-known thing. If you're trying to lose the cops, downtown is the place to do it. I don't think that's going to happen with this guy, because you could just see the number of units on the ground. Even if those helicopters had to peel off, there are just so many ground units dedicated to this pursuit. It's just the chances of him getting away are practically nil. It may end up in a foot pursuit. They might have to set up a perimeter, but they are going to get this guy. This is not something that we are used to seeing. When you see all of these officers at the various intersections and at least a dozen units right behind him, again, as a reporter, I cannot wait to hear the details behind what this person is wanted for. Some very serious charges stacking up against him here, as he refuses, even at this late juncture, with all of those flat tires, to pull over and just give himself up. He was said to be armed and dangerous. We don't know what crimes have been committed, but obviously they are stopping at nothing to keep up with him. They are not going to lose him. It's just a matter of, he's on borrowed time. He knows it. And so he's just enjoying these final moments of freedom. It's turning into a joyride at this point, as he continues to struggle with that steering wheel and crawl through downtown LA again, back onto Alvarado. Easily. That's right. And now you have the issue as word gets out on social media and, of course, across everybody's TV set, you start to see some more people coming out to try and catch a glimpse. Again, this is the type of pursuit where you're not surprised to see that, because he's basically established such a pattern that there's plenty of time, and something they don't want to see. They don't want to see pedestrians get involved, even if they want to try and catch a glimpse or take a picture. It is so ill-advised, because you just don't know how this pursuit is going to end, and there are indeed lots of pedestrians out and about. Some just happen to be walking around, obviously, in this part of town. In other parts, they are coming out just to take a look at what is going on in their neighborhood, as he continues at a slow speed here, making his way through the same neighborhood over and over again, back onto Alvarado Street, doing these circles at about 20 miles per hour, with all of those lights and sirens behind him, getting everybody's attention. Of course, there's a good purpose for that, but it's also attracting some of the wrong attention too, and they just don't want to see people come out to try and take part in this. This is just not a smart idea. So they're going to try and continue to keep a close distance here, making these turns with him back onto Olympic Boulevard from Alvarado, again doing a very, very tight circle around this group of buildings, as he makes another left-hand turn here, this time onto Lake Street, another narrow street here, as he basically is just exhausting whatever rubber is left on those rims. But you're going to see it fly off here in a second, I think. It looks like it. I'm not sure if it's actually come off, but you can see clearly on that left side, that rear driver's side tire, that's really about to come off. I couldn't see if there's anything left on that front one, but so far, I mean, here, look at that. Any little move with that steering wheel, and you can see if he goes any faster, he's going to lose control of that vehicle. So he's got to keep it in a straight line if he has any hope of keeping this going. But I just think he is, you know, he's on borrowed time. It's clear that there's just not much time left, and it does look like there's a little bit of rubber left there, but he's basically riding on the rim. In fact, it might be all four tires at this point that appear flat. There it goes. Yeah, and that's going to slow him down even more here, and eventually that rim will start to grind into the pavement. You'll start to see some sparks here as he continues. I just don't think he's going to be able to maintain control much more, especially as he tries to speed up here. A very bad idea, crossing over the double yellow lines. This is real potential for danger here, as there is oncoming traffic occasionally here on Pico Boulevard. You can see the cars on the other side of the road. It takes nothing for him to accidentally spin out of control or drift over those double yellow lines into those oncoming lanes. Now we're back underneath the freeway here as he continues eastbound on Pico. You really start to hold your breath as he tries to make this up as he goes along here. You just hope that there's nobody in his way as he starts to fishtail through these intersections. You almost wonder if they are contemplating maybe some more unorthodox tactics here. I mean, they can continue in a traditional way, as the way, look at that, the more sparks flying off the front right tire there, that front rim starting to light up as it grinds into the asphalt there. But you wonder, with the dangers at play here, whether there might be other options for them at their disposal. Again, they've already dedicated dozens of officers to this pursuit, including a dozen or so that are right behind him, continuing to follow him through the streets of downtown LA as he continues with these erratic moves at 20 to 25 miles per hour on rims. He's basically, yeah. Yeah, more pedestrians coming out, catching a glimpse of this. You can see them, spectators, trying to see this pursuit come past their neighborhood here. But there are risk factors. And unfortunately, well, fortunately, it's a late hour, so we're not dealing with, you know, daytime traffic. The only more ideal situation would be if he was on the freeway. Look at that, more spike strips. He's going to drive around that spike. but there's not much tire left to spike. I mean, there's pretty much, it's pretty much game over at this point. He's on his last few miles here, but the only thing better or safer would be on the freeway. Right now, though, that doesn't seem to be an option for him. He has bypassed every opportunity to get on the freeway, and he is just crawling now up Alvarado Street once again, choosing the same streets over and over again, which has allowed them to set up at intersections ahead of him, not only to set up spike strips, but also to close off additional traffic from getting in his way. They're really doing a public service by closing down those intersections, because there is obviously an armed and dangerous person behind the wheel here. He poses a real threat to the community, even at this late hour, and now he is back on Olympic Boulevard as that rim continues to light up the neighborhood. Doing repeated circles along the same exact streets. It's telling that even as the pursuit has slowed down to 20, 25 miles per hour, coming really close to those parked cars, it's telling that they have not given the go-ahead for a pit maneuver. It seems like relatively good conditions for a pit maneuver to put the final nail in the coffin of this pursuit. However, there must be a reason why they are not opting for that pit maneuver. They're continuing to let this drag on, despite the fact that it has slowed down tremendously, compliments of those spike attempts that have successfully flattened almost all four tires, and those units are continuing to follow at a close distance. They could easily pit him if they wanted to, but for some reason they have not. And in any event, that pursuit now coming to a grinding halt here, it looks like, along Alvarado Street, just shy of Olympic Boulevard, and this might be it. He's pushing the pedal to the metal, and the car is not cooperating. It looks like this has come to a dead stop on Alvarado Street. Officers getting out of their cruisers with their guns drawn, and they're going to start barking orders at him pretty quickly here. We'll see if there's any cooperation or any signs of cooperation. The very first step is going to be looking for those hands to come out the window. Will he shut off the car? Will he pop open that door? They're going to instruct him very carefully. You can see some movement coming from that driver's side door, but that door is still tightly shut, and it looks like he is. It looks like he stopped gassing it. I don't see those wheels spinning, but the car is still on. I'm sorry. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they're ready to make that felony arrest, but this could happen relatively quickly, or it could turn into a drawn-out standoff if he refuses to come out, and that would mean a whole separate set of strategies taking place on the part of the LAPD. Let's just hope that the suspect just gives himself up here, continuing to see movement. They're going to be looking for those hands. Here comes the driver's side door, popping open. Might be ready to surrender here. You could see him maybe communicating. Hands not in the air. He's out of the vehicle. There's the hands. Hands up in the air. His back facing those officers, stepping away from the vehicle slowly, and now it appears he is giving himself up. They are not going to take any chances with him. They are going to continue to instruct him to do a number of things, and eventually he'll be proned out here in just a second. He's walking away from them for some reason, and now on his knees. Right. That's right. Here he is, proned out. All eyes now on the passenger seat as they continue this felony arrest. They will take him into custody here momentarily, but they want to wait and see what that passenger's doing in the front seat. They can't go past that car until they understand that that suspect is not a threat in the passenger seat. There's the passenger door. A female passenger stepping out of the vehicle, her hands now up in the air. Again, worth reiterating that 3 other suspects jumped out of the back seat of this vehicle earlier in this pursuit. That female passenger now stepping backwards in the direction of those officers as she appears to be cooperating, and this pursuit, fortunately, appears to be coming to a peaceful resolution, not before putting lots of lives in danger tonight with the crazy driving we've seen. It's a miracle nobody's been hurt, but fortunately coming to a peaceful end now as both the driver and the passenger appear to be obeying those commands. Three or four California Highway Patrol units engaged in this pursuit.
Патрульные полицейские хотели остановить автомобиль, ранее замеченный в нарушении скоростного режима, но водитель не остановился, и патрульные начали погоню.
The driving that we're seeing here and the behavior that we are able to see from the front view here, looking straight through that windshield. So he is encountering a little bit of traffic, slowing down with traffic, but again, we've seen no hesitation to swerve around traffic at times, even going the wrong way as he was trying to navigate the eastern part of Long Beach. He was at one point going westbound into downtown Long Beach and then turned around on 2nd Ave, or 2nd Street rather, and again, made his way back towards PCH, where he is continuing this erratic pursuit. It was a much slower pursuit in the early minutes of this, about 35 miles per hour. He's now doubled his speed, doing much closer to 60 to 65 miles per hour, now pushing 74 miles per hour on PCH. We hadn't heard of any collisions, and again, I think it's important to note that we do not even know what the initial reason was for Long Beach police to initiate the pursuit. But when California Highway Patrol took it over, Long Beach said, well, we're not really interested anymore. You guys can cancel this pursuit. At some point, he may have collided with something, or maybe that damage was already there. Unfortunately, we have not heard of how that happened. No idea whether there have been any collisions today involving this vehicle. But in any event, California Highway Patrol, for pretty good reason, I would say, has decided to maintain this pursuit mode and keep a very close eye on this suspect. Again, dangerous driving and erratic behavior, especially in the middle of rush hour here, is all the reason they need to get this guy off the road. Now, if it gets much more dangerous, they have to change their calculus just a little bit. But right now, you can see as he makes his way into the heart of Huntington Beach, the traffic on PCH is a bit slower. He's encountering much slower beach traffic, which, as you would expect, is only about 35 miles per hour, especially with all of the pedestrians crossing PCH here. So he's now approaching Main Street right in front of the Huntington Beach Pier here and continuing past all this traffic, guys. Yeah, he's so. So here comes a motor officer pulling up in front. That's unusual. We don't see that very often. Occasionally we have seen in recent weeks a similar pursuit where other officers, this is over in the South Bay, we saw CHP actually cut vehicles off and try to box them in. So some new tactics, I think, recently by California Highway Patrol. In any event, he's using that shoulder to get around some of the slow traffic. To answer your question, Mark, as he makes his way further down here, southbound on PCH, the traffic lightens up, and he'll have plenty of pavement to play with once he gets past this little stretch here. Again, this is the busiest part of Huntington Beach. An older model Toyota, maybe a Corolla, I think we're looking at here, with very heavy front end damage. The rest of the vehicle appears to be mostly intact, I think, but as he gets a little more open road here, you can see him pushing the pedal to the metal and picking up much more steam, again doing about 50 to 60 miles per hour as that primary unit once again in a position where they have fallen back. I did not see where that motorcycle went, but now it looks like those ground units are re-engaging, and now they're right on his tail. Now they're just a couple of car lengths behind him, especially that primary SUV right there, that CHP Interceptor, now right on his tail with lights and sirens blaring. This is back in hot pursuit. They gave it an attempt. They tried to pull back a little bit. Airship was doing most of the work. I'm not sure if that airship has to go refuel. In fact, I don't see it. Do you still see? They may have swapped out. I think they've swapped helicopters. Anaheim's police helicopter has now taken over the aerial duties here, and the ground units are now closing in. They've closed that gap dramatically in the last 2 minutes here. As you can see, he is now still showing no signs of slowing down and has a lot more pressure coming from behind. Well, it's a great opportunity because there's nobody in his way, no other collateral damage, and that's the perfect situation. There is a center median, but you can still do it. This is just above the speed threshold. By the way, the initial want for this suspect, I'm being told now, is speed. So this was a speeding ticket to start with. It has obviously graduated to much more serious charges. But once you saw even a glimmer of expectation for that pit maneuver, you can see he has dramatically amped up the speed here, now doing 80 to 90 miles per hour through Huntington Beach down PCH. So that pit attempt, I don't know if you want to call it a pit attempt, but he was certainly showing signs of a pit maneuver, has obviously gone out the window as the driver now clearly desperate to get away from those ground units. Back on the wrong side of PCH, going through a red light, doing whatever he can to create more distance and get away from those ground units. Probably not aware yet of that helicopter. He's not going to get very far, but I don't think he is in the right state of mind to even, make all of those decisions. He's just running for it at this point, hoping that he could buy some freedom here, but he is on borrowed time. The vehicle, other than that front bumper, is operating fairly normally, so the vehicle's in decent shape. Unclear how much fuel is in the tank, but he is going to take this, I think, as long as he can. I don't see any signs of him attempting to dump the vehicle yet. Certainly it's a possibility. That's something they're prepared for. They're prepared for that foot bail if it happens. But going this speed on PCH, it seems like he's just going to take this as far as he can. Of course, PCH goes much further than this, so this could go on for some time as he passes through various jurisdictions down here in Orange County. But CHP is the primary agency now involved in this pursuit. Again, to recap, Long Beach Police initiating this pursuit. It was initially just a speeding ticket, and now, obviously, a much more dangerous suspect behind the wheel here. I think they, he slowed down, and that was the opportunity, or was one opportunity for a pit maneuver. But of course, once he got through the intersection, he sped up, and I think that just went out the window. Those pit maneuvers are very carefully timed, and really the ideal speed limit is about 35, maybe 40, 45 miles per hour at times. We've seen them push it a little bit. Of course, there has to be nobody else in danger, no other motorists directly behind him or around him, and it certainly appears as I look out the window, he is on open road here. 3 lanes of PCH wide open as he continues down, now coming up on another light. If he goes through the intersection here and comes out the other side by himself, that will be another opportunity for a pit maneuver, assuming he's doing about 30 to 40 miles per hour. Here comes, slowing down, here comes the pit. Yep, great opportunity. That was an attempt, and he sped up. He was able to evade that pit maneuver. So now he's onto them. They're going to probably try again and again as many times as they see that opportunity come. But obviously, as time goes by here, he is much more agitated and clearly demonstrating that by stepping on the gas and pushing these speeds upwards of 80 miles per hour down PCH. So another intersection coming up here. Another couple of cars as well. So again, there can't be any other traffic in the way here to execute that pit maneuver safely. Here he comes making a right turn. This is going to be a right turn off of PCH. That's going to put him on Newport Boulevard. It's going to put him on Newport Boulevard, I think. And he is now going northbound Newport. Now, he could get back on PCH, or he can continue. It looks like he's continuing, committing to the northbound lanes of Newport Boulevard. Now in Newport Beach, in a much busier part of town again. Yeah, the stretch between Huntington and Newport is where they had their opportunity, where traffic is much lighter. Once you get into busy Newport Beach, I don't think we're going to see many pit maneuver opportunities, at least for the next several miles here. So heavier traffic here as he makes his way northbound on Newport Beach, Newport Boulevard, rather. That motor unit now jumping in front there, trying to keep close eyes on him. And that primary SUV falling back just a little bit. We're getting a little bit of a better vantage point, a different point of view of this vehicle. And it looks like some rear damage as well. In fact, the entire rear bumper is missing. So a missing front bumper and a missing rear bumper leads you to believe that the driving that we're seeing here is a pattern, a habit, whatever you want to call it. But he has obviously collided with a number of either objects, property, cars. We don't know what he's hit, but this vehicle has been through a rough afternoon, and now you can see that motor unit pulling up right behind him once again. Again, this is in hot pursuit. CHP desperate to get this guy off the road as he makes his way through very busy parts of our area here, especially in the middle of rush hour on a Thursday afternoon, starting in busy Long Beach, ending up on PCH through Seal Beach, into the heart of Huntington Beach, straight down PCH at 80 miles per hour at times, now on the northbound side of Newport Boulevard at 55 miles per hour on a busy Thursday afternoon here in downtown Newport Beach. We haven't seen any collisions as long as we've been over it, or at least that we, as far as we are aware, since the beginning of this pursuit, as long as we've been listening to it, we have not heard of any collisions. So we're not clear on how that damage occurred. In any event, he's turned off of Newport Boulevard onto 17th Street, south on 17th to Tustin Avenue, making a left now onto Tustin into a parking lot, maybe going to make a U-turn here. Maybe they'll box him in or try another pit maneuver That might be, onto the sidewalk, through some trees, and now you can see what this person is capable of. He's going to use any real estate that he has at his disposal to get away from these officers. A dangerous suspect. We can now clearly see just how desperate he is by pulling a maneuver like that. Those are the types of things, in addition to driving the wrong way at times, as we've seen, excessive speed on PCH, and now you jump onto the curb like that, through those trees, back onto 17th Street. These officers are now in a position where they are not going to be able to give this up. They're going to have to flood the zone at some point and wait for this vehicle to either run out of fuel or for the suspect to give up, dump the vehicle, try and run for it maybe sometimes, or maybe just give up peacefully. Of course, that's what everybody is hoping for. But he is now going the opposite way, northbound on 17th Street, back towards Newport Boulevard, using the correct lanes. But when he comes up on any traffic, you said it, guys, he jumps right into oncoming lanes of traffic, and the chase is just the risk here. The risk factors are just through the roof once you get into oncoming lanes of traffic. And we haven't seen a whole lot of pedestrians, but you mentioned it, Mark. You would expect to see a lot of pedestrians in this part of Newport Beach, especially at this time of the day. So it's only a matter of time before you start to see some of that as well. Yeah, we are northbound on Newport Boulevard at coming up on, that's going to be 22nd Street. So we're now really pushing the pedal to the metal, upwards of 90 to 100 miles per hour on Newport Boulevard, heading up towards downtown Irvine here. If we continue at these speeds, I don't think these officers are going to be able to keep this distance. They're going to have to pull back a little bit, I believe, especially as the traffic increases, getting closer to the 73 and the 405. You have the 73 first, then the 405. He'll have an opportunity to get on either one of those freeways or take this into Irvine proper, where he will have lots of surface streets to maneuver. But he has, for the most part, chosen the path of least resistance. And in this case, he is on a pretty empty Newport Boulevard. Again, heading up towards Irvine at about now 79 miles per hour, 80 miles per hour, according to our real-time speed tracker. They handed it off. In fact, they even told CHP, they said, listen, we're not interested anymore. You can go ahead and cancel. California Highway Patrol, in many instances, will go ahead and heed that unless they see evidence that warrants otherwise. And in this case, they certainly saw driving that was unacceptable and something that is entirely worth their efforts here to get this person off the road. And you can see why in the last several minutes the driving is much worse than just speeding, as he now gets onto the 55 freeway here. He's in, man, look at that vehicle. Kind of, I don't know what he hit there, if he just took a little hump, but the vehicle appears to, the suspension of that vehicle appears to be bouncing quite a bit by my eye. In any event, he's now going northbound on 73 towards the 405 freeway. This could end up back on the 405, guys, in which case you're going to see a whole lot more traffic if he doesn't get off soon. In fact, I don't think he has an opportunity to get off for at least the next half mile. He's going to end up in bumper-to-bumper traffic here in just a second. I don't see how he gets out of this. He is committed to the northbound 405 now, and that is going to be bumper-to-bumper in just about 30 seconds. Yeah, a few SUVs. They have rotated through that primary unit has rotated several times. They're still pretty close behind him. There's the exit. There's the one exit he's taking. It's going to be, I didn't catch that street, but he's taking an exit that's going to take him off of the freeway, slowing down dramatically here. Again, that California Highway Patrol, a fresh primary unit behind him, maybe about 8 car lengths behind him possibly, and a few more units right behind him, including a motor unit. And also, I should mention, Anaheim PD's helicopter coordinating this from above. So the California Highway Patrol helicopter went back for fuel. Anaheim PD now helping out here from above, and now 2 units that I count, and a motor unit far back, but 2 SUVs right on his tail as he gets off of the 405 here. We'll try and get a street. Yeah. No, that's exactly right. As he moves from CHP station through various jurisdictions, they hand this off to their neighboring CHP stations. So he's now been through a number of CHP areas. I think we're well south of the Westminster station now. I'm not exactly sure which office is handling this, but as he moves through, we expect to see new units in the pursuit. That white SUV indicative of a supervisor, most likely, who is now the lead unit in this pursuit. And he is certainly pit authorized, so if he slows down, we will likely see another pit attempt if there's an opportunity. But with all of this traffic, it's unlikely. There has to be much less traffic and a lot of wide open pavement to execute that pit maneuver safely. And of course, the vehicle has to slow down dramatically in this case to below 40 miles per hour. Yep, that's exactly what it is. Yep. Yeah, you hear those sirens blaring, everybody instinctively starts to pull over to the right, and especially in Southern California where it is routine now to hear these police chases coming up behind you or in your vicinity. Look at this, here comes the pit. There's the pit. A good opportunity for a pit in the middle of that U-turn there, and now he's going the opposite direction on, I think that's Harbor Boulevard. Did not immobilize the vehicle. It was a good little smack. But now, again, things have been amped up dramatically. We've now seen a use of force by California Highway Patrol, and here's another pit attempt right here. A great opportunity coming up from the right rear, spinning the vehicle out of control. That inertia switch is deactivated, and now you can see he is face-to-face with a black and white. That primary unit kept going. 2 more units rolling up face-to-face, and now they will get out of their vehicles, avoid all crossfire, and draw their guns squarely aimed at that driver's seat. That driver is now face-to-face with a CHP officer. That door still shut. No sign of him following orders yet, but the canine happens to be already on scene there. So great news. If they need to use that canine unit, they will. Of course, that's the, not something we want to see, but of course that's the job of that dog. And you can see other officers ready to pounce if he tries to pull anything here. Now, keep in mind, we don't know if he's able to turn that vehicle back on. Most likely, he very well may be, in which case he could put it in reverse and continue this. But so far, over the last 45 seconds, that vehicle has not moved an inch, but we still don't see that driver's side. Here it is. Here comes the driver's side door popping open. This person obviously has had enough, and it looks like he is starting to make better decisions. At least that driver's side door is open. They want to see those hands up in the air, and they want to see those hands empty, most importantly. Stepping out of the vehicle, appears to be following orders. When you have all of those sirens, those guns pointed at you, and a dog barking at you, you start to think a little more clearly about life. And here he is, now stepping backwards towards those officers, giving up, these officers executing a felony arrest as he gets down on his knees, hands up in the air, and it certainly looks, we can now zoom in a little bit, I just want to see, looks like those hands are now empty. So it looks like this is going to come to a peaceful resolution. CHP seeing 2 or 3 excellent opportunities for a safe pit maneuver, and this was a textbook pit maneuver leading to a peaceful resolution to this pretty wild pursuit here in the OC, guys. Yep. You got it, guys.
А эта полицейская погоня началась с ограбления банка в Северном Сиэтле. Патрульная полиция обнаружила машину, которую использовали преступники для побега на южном шоссе I-5 к северу от центра города, и начали преследование.
Changing now into, got out of the HOV lane, went to the lane next to it. Okay, now in the center lane, behind a box truck. Now going all the way to the right lane. That might be getting ready to set up for an exit. Traffic only 750. Alright, looks like it's picking up the pace, not stopping for the lit up. Robbery. We are traveling about 60 miles an hour. Guardian 1, do you want to call it? Yep, Guardian 1, I got it. We're still continuing southbound. Lane 2. It's a little bit heavier traffic. It's not driving crazy, but is picking up the pace just a bit. Just passing under West Seattle. Alright, getting back into the right lane. Might be getting ready to, yep, just got back into lane 1 again. Approaching the Michigan exits, but staying in lane 1. Light traffic now, plenty of room to maneuver. Still continuing, gonna take the Michigan exit. Take Michigan.
I think we have to stop officers on this radio. Can we patch?
We are patched. And we're on the exit, just passing over Airport Way. Go ahead. Yeah, I'm monitoring. I want officers to try to shadow this as much as possible. Let Guardian 1 do its job. Alright, coming up to Michigan. Went into the oncoming lane. Gonna turn. He's caught up in traffic. Still going southbound on Corson. Southbound Corson. East Marginal. Southbound east. And there's still light traffic now. No pedestrians. Dry roads. They're in the center turn lane. Passing 14th South. Still maneuvering in and out of traffic, which is still light. They're going to go west on 16th. My pilot here says they were throwing stuff out the window, right at that curve. Going over the 16th bridge. Did get into an oncoming lane, but there is no oncoming traffic. Getting into some heavy traffic up here at the light at 14th and Cloverdale. See where they're going to go west on Cloverdale. Kind of caught up in some slower traffic. They're not. They are going to go into the oncoming lane to get around some cars. Going southbound on 12th South. Southbound on 12th South. 12th South and Donovan. And then it looks like they're going to make a right.
Двое преступников вышли из машины и решили попробовать скрыться пешком, но были задержаны уже через несколько минут.
Going, looks like southbound. And the car is still heading westbound, approaching 8th South. Vehicles are westbound, approaching 8th. I think they're going to. I think they've dumped the car somewhere in here. I lost them here for a sec. So I think they dumped the car somewhere south Donovan and 8th. Possibly dumped vehicle at Donovan and 8th. Back 2 Ocean 31 to the foot pursuit. Alright, when we're back over the top. Approaching 8th Avenue Southwest. K913, I'm trying to make my way there on the train. Come back through 4th, they'll have to take our left or right here. Northbound on 4th. Driving in the oncoming lane, back in their lane. You guys will have to call out the speeds down there, though. Back to 120th and 4th Southwest. Yeah, they're going at least 60. on 4 Southwest, approaching 112th.
2013, did you want us to back off now? Is that what you said?
We're going to go west on 110th from 4th Avenue.
Units to back off like Guardian 1 follow.
Northbound on 3rd Southwest. Probably looking for a place to bail, so stay tight. Still northbound on 3rd, approaching 108th. And they're going to go back eastbound on 108th.
Eastbound 108.
Now southbound on 2nd Southwest from 108th.
Southbound 6.
This time, yeah, one car just tried to pin him in, but he was able to get around it. We're back westbound on 110th, approaching 3rd. Approaching 4th. They're going to go southbound on 4th Avenue Southwest. Went in the wrong lane for a couple, made a couple of cars move, but is now back southbound. Weaving in and out of traffic, both sides of the road. Getting ready for another turn. And now southbound on 4th Avenue Southwest, 4th Place Southwest. Still southbound on northbound 4th Southwest at 114th, 111th. Coming up to 109th.
One, take over.
Getting me back eastbound. Almost hit another car, but kept going. We're back northbound on 4th.
Adam, yeah, stop pursuing. Let Guardian 1 watch until he goes to ground.
Passing 106, still northbound on 4th.
Passing 106 northbound.
Gonna go west on 104th.
Units still parallel this because looking for a place to bail.
Alright, they went down a dirt road, so they got no place else to go. 104th, and I think 6th, bailing into the woods.
Yep, they're bailing. We got eyes on them.
They're going westbound through the woods. There's a trail that goes over a creek or something. Looks like that might be where they're headed.
Hold the air. Looks like he's giving up. There you go.
I think I might have him.
Guardian 1 possible.
10434 8th Avenue Southwest. Looks like he's trying to hide under under an umbrella or something upside down. I think it's a White House.
Take 10434 east southwest White House.
Be the southeast corner of the house. He's hiding underneath it, white tennis shoes, couldn't see anything else because he's kind of partially covered.
See southeast corner 10434 east southwest.
Suspect has not moved. his arms a little bit. Looks like he's starting to crawl out, complying so far.
Suspect compliant.
They got him proned out and crawling towards the arrest team.
Prone and row.
Making contact.
Все преступники были задержаны и предстали перед судом.